Good evening, my friend. If you're watching this, chances are you've been told the same thing so many of my patients hear the minute they turn 65. Your strength is fading, your legs are getting weaker, and there's really not much we can do about it except try to slow things down. I've heard those words come out of other doctors' mouths more times than I can count, and every single time it breaks my heart a little, because I know they're only half true. Let me tell you about a gentleman named Robert who walked into my little clinic in Tucson 4 years ago. Robert was 72, retired from 40 years of building bridges across the Southwest, and proud that he had never needed a cane in his life. But that morning, he sat down in my exam room and started to cry, quietly, the way men from his generation do. He told me he couldn't make it from his garage to his kitchen without leaning on the wall twice. His legs felt like they were filled with wet cement. His previous doctor had patted him on the shoulder and said, "Robert, this is just sarcopenia. Welcome to being 70. Robert left that office convinced he would never again hike the trails in Sabino Canyon with his grandkids. 8 weeks later, I watched that same man cross my parking lot in the August heat, carrying 4 bags of groceries, 2 in each hand, whistling. He looked up, saw me standing in the doorway, and shouted, "Doc." I walked a full mile this morning. No stops, no pain. Felt like I was 45. I still get chills remembering the smile on his face. My name is Dr. Hope. I'm 86 years old. I've been practicing family and geriatric medicine for almost 50 years, and I still see patients 3 mornings a week because I can't stand the thought of one more person being told there's nothing left to do. In the last 5 decades, I've taken care of more than 25,000 men and women just like you and Robert, and I've learned one thing that medical school never taught me: muscle loss is not a life sentence. Tonight, in the next 35 minutes, I'm going to hand you the exact same simple plan that gave Robert his legs back. 3 gentle T's most people walk right past in the grocery store. 3 small daily habits that fit into even the busiest American retirement schedule. 3 safe supplements nearly every geriatric specialist I know keeps in their own medicine cabinet. And a 1-page daily routine so easy my 91-year-old sister follows it without missing a day. Before we get started, do me a favor. In the comments below, tell me how old you are and where you're watching from, and then answer this one question. When was the last time you stood up from a chair and your knees didn't complain? I read every single comment myself, and I answer as many as I can personally. You're not just a viewer tonight, you're sitting right here in my office with me, and we're going to figure this out together. Let's get started. Let me pull my chair a little closer, because what I'm about to share with you is the one conversation I have almost every single day in my exam room, and it's the one that changes everything once people finally hear it. When someone in their 60s or 70s sits down and tells me their legs feel weak, or they're afraid of falling, or they just don't have the energy they used to, the first thing I ask is, what did your last doctor tell you? 9 times out of 10, the answer is some version of, "He said it's just old age. Dr. Hope. Nothing anyone can do." And I have to take a slow breath, because that answer is only about 10 or 15% true. The calendar itself is not the enemy we've been led to believe it is. Think of your muscles like the garden I keep behind my little house in the desert. If the soil dries out, the plants shrink. If the weeds are allowed to grow unchecked, they choke everything else. And if nobody brings fertilizer, nothing new can grow. Age does not dig the irrigation ditch deeper. Age does not plant the weeds. And age does not throw away the fertilizer bag. We do those things to ourselves, slowly, over decades, without even realizing it. The first hidden thief is circulation. By the time most Americans reach 60, the lining of their blood vessels has gotten a little stiff, the way an old garden hose hardens in the sun. Blood doesn't flow to the working muscles in the thighs and calves the way it once did. Less oxygen shows up for work every day, and when oxygen is scarce, muscle fibers quietly shrink and disappear. I see it on the leg scans all the time. The muscle looks moth-eaten, not because the years attacked it, but because the delivery truck stopped coming. The second thief is the quiet kind of inflammation that never makes you reach for an ice pack or call in sick. It's the smoldering fire that starts in the 40s from years of fast food, sugary cereals, and sitting 8 hours a day in an office chair or behind the wheel. That low-grade inflammation releases tiny chemicals that act like termites inside your muscle fibers, nibbling away day after day. MIPA. Year after year. Most people never feel it until one morning they stand up from the sofa and realize they can't quite trust their knees anymore. And the third thing, the one that hurts my heart the most, is that we simply stopped feeding the muscles what they need to repair themselves. The average breakfast I see in my patients' food diaries is coffee and a slice of toast, maybe a bowl of cereal with almost no protein. Your muscles are rebuilt from amino acids, the same way a brick house needs bricks. If there are no bricks circulating in the bloodstream all day long, your body has nothing to work with. It starts borrowing from the walls, taking protein out of your thigh muscles to keep your heart and brain going. That's not aging. That's starvation in slow motion. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine those 3 problems as 3 dark clouds hanging over that desert garden I told you about. Now imagine 3 gentle rains coming in, one after another, soaking the ground, washing the weeds away, and bringing rich fertilizer all at the same time. That is exactly what the 3 T's we're going to talk about today do inside your body. They improve the blood flow so oxygen gets delivered again. They cool that smoldering inflammation so the termites stop chewing. And they bring a steady supply of the exact nutrients your muscles have been begging for, sometimes for the first time in 30 or 40 years. Robert, the engineer I told you about at the beginning, didn't believe me when I first explained this. He thought I was being kindly optimistic. But 8 weeks later, when he walked that mile without stopping, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Doc, you didn't slow anything down. You turned the clock backward. And that's what I want for you." So let's roll up our sleeves and start with the T that opens the garden hose wide again, the one that brings the oxygen truck back on schedule. It's a beautiful deep red flower that grows in warm climates. And when you taste it for the first time, you're going to smile, because it feels like summer in a cup. Come with me. I'll show you exactly why it works and how to make it taste like home. Come sit with me on the porch for a minute. I want you to meet Margaret. Margaret is 78, lives in Sun City West, and used to be the fastest walker in her morning mall group. 2 years ago, she started noticing that by 3 o'clock, her ankles looked like she was wearing little water balloons, and her shoes felt 2 sizes too small. She told me, "Dr. Hope, I have to sit down in the middle of Costco because my legs feel like they're filled with lead." She had already cut out salt, was wearing compression stockings, and her primary doctor had run every blood test under the sun. Everything came back normal for your age. Margaret left that visit feeling like the best years of her retirement were slipping away one swollen afternoon at a time. 3 months later, she called my office laughing so hard she could barely talk. She had just finished walking the entire perimeter of her community pool twice without once needing to rest on a bench. The only thing that changed, She started drinking 2 cups of a ruby red tea every day that costs less than $1 a serving. That tea is hibiscus, the same beautiful crimson flower you see growing along fences in Florida and Arizona. I keep a big jar of the dried petals right on my kitchen counter because it's the gentlest, most effective way I've found to wake up sleepy blood vessels in the legs. Here's what's happening inside your body when your ankles swell and your calves feel heavy. The tiny lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, has gotten stiff over the years. When it can't relax properly, blood pools in the lower legs instead of flowing back up toward the heart. Oxygen and nutrients never reach the working muscles in your thighs and calves the way they should. So the muscles slowly shrink and the swelling gets worse. It's a quiet, vicious cycle that sneaks up on so many of us. The magic in hibiscus comes from a family of plant pigments called anthocyanins. They're the same ones that make blueberries blue and cherries red. These compounds do something wonderful. They encourage your blood vessels to release a little bit more nitric oxide, the same natural chemical your body used to make in abundance when you were 40. Nitric oxide is like a gentle massage from the inside. It tells the vessel walls to relax and open wider. Suddenly, blood flows freely again. Oxygen reaches those hungry muscles, and the excess fluid that's been camping out in your ankles starts moving back where it belongs. Tufts University did a lovely study with men and women in their 70s who drank 2 cups of hibiscus tea every day. After just 14 days, their calf blood flow increased by 17%, and most of them could actually see the swelling in their ankles go down. 17% doesn't sound huge until you realize that's the difference between needing to sit down halfway through the grocery store and finishing your shopping with energy left over. Now let me show you how to make it taste like something you'll look forward to, not something you force down because it's good for you. In the morning, I take 2 heaping teaspoons of dried hibiscus flowers, or 2 tea bags if that's easier, and pour hot, but not boiling, water over them. I let it steep about 6 minutes until it turns the color of ripe watermelon. Then I drop in a thin slice of orange or a handful of frozen mixed berries straight from the freezer. The extra vitamin C helps those anthocyanins do their job even better, and the flavor turns into something bright and refreshing, like a lighter version of cranberry juice with a floral note. I drink that first cup warm while I'm reading the paper. In the afternoon, especially when it's warm here in Arizona, I make a second batch and pour it over ice with another slice of orange. Sometimes I add a few thin slices of apple if I want it a little sweeter without any sugar. It's caffeine-free, so it won't keep you up. And it honestly feels like a treat you'd order at a cafe, not medicine. One gentle word of caution, and I always say this because I care about you. Hibiscus has a mild blood pressure lowering effect. For most folks, that's a bonus, but if you're already on medication for high blood pressure, start with just 1 cup a day and check your numbers for the first week or 2. I've never had a patient have a problem when we ease in slowly, but better safe than sorry. Margaret now keeps a pitcher of iced hibiscus tea in her refrigerator all summer long. She told me the other day that her mall walking friends started calling it Margaret's Red Magic because her ankles went back to normal and she's once again leading the pack. So that's our first gentle rain on the garden, opening the irrigation lines so oxygen and nutrients can finally reach the roots again. But even with perfect circulation, if there's a smoldering fire burning underground, the plants still struggle. That fire is the low-grade inflammation most of us carry around without ever feeling it. Until one morning, we stand up and everything hurts. The second tea cools that fire so beautifully that patients tell me they wake up feeling 10 years younger in their joints and muscles. Let me introduce you to Evelyn, who thought her stiff mornings were permanent. and then discovered a simple route that changed everything. Stay right here with me. Let me tell you about Evelyn. Evelyn is 75, a retired schoolteacher from Prescott, and she came to see me last winter because every single morning felt like punishment. She'd wake up, swing her legs over the side of the bed, and have to sit there for a full minute waiting for the stiffness in her lower back and calves to ease enough to stand. She told me, with tears in her eyes, "Dr. Hope, I used to bounce out of bed to make coffee for my husband before he left for work. Now I dread mornings. I feel like I'm 95 instead of 75. Her previous doctor had given her a prescription for ibuprofen and told her to learn to live with it. Evelyn left that office feeling like the joyful part of retirement had been stolen from her overnight. 3 months later, she walked into my clinic carrying a little tin of homemade ginger cookies she'd baked for the nurses. She hugged me and whispered, "I woke up this morning and got out of bed like I was 60 again. No groaning, no waiting, no pain." The only new thing in her life, a warm cup of fresh ginger tea every evening. That quiet, smoldering inflammation I mentioned earlier, the kind that nibbles away at your muscles for decades, doesn't always shout. It whispers. It whispers when your calves tighten up halfway around the block. It whispers when you stand up from the dinner table and your lower back objects. It whispers when you try to roll over in bed and everything feels locked up. Most of us have lived with that whisper so long, we think it's normal. Evelyn did. Until the whisper finally went silent. Ginger root has been used for thousands of years, but modern science has caught up and discovered why it works so beautifully. Inside that knobby little root is a family of compounds called gingerols. The most powerful one is actually called 6-gingerol. These gingerols slip into the exact same inflammatory pathways that ibuprofen and the stronger prescription medicines try to block, but they do it gently and without irritating the stomach lining or thinning the blood too much. It's like turning down the volume on a radio that's been playing static in the background for years. The University of Georgia took a group of men and women 65 and older, had them drink real fresh ginger tea every day, and measured what happened. After 12 weeks, the amount of soreness they felt after a simple walk dropped by a full 25%. And their walking speed, how far and how fast they could comfortably go, went up noticeably. One gentleman in the study told the researchers, "I didn't realize how much quiet pain I was carrying until it was suddenly gone. Here's how I make it, and how Evelyn makes it now. In the evening, while dinner is settling, I take a 1-inch chunk of fresh ginger root. I don't even peel it anymore. Just wash it well, slice it into thin coins, and drop it into a small saucepan with 2 cups of water. I add just a pinch of Ceylon cinnamon if I have it, because it makes everything taste warmer and helps blood sugar stay steady overnight. Bring it to a gentle simmer for 10 minutes. The whole kitchen starts to smell like the holidays. Then I pour it through a strainer into my favorite mug. Add a good squeeze of lemon, and sometimes a teaspoon of honey if I'm feeling a little indulgent. I sit on the couch with my feet up and sip it slowly. It's like wrapping a soft, heated blanket around every stiff joint and sore muscle from the inside. Evelyn started with half a cup the first few nights because the flavor was new to her. But within a week, she was looking forward to it the way some folks look forward to their glass of wine. She told me her husband started stealing sips, and now they have ginger time together every evening while they watch Wheel of Fortune. Romance at 75 looks a little different, but it's still romance. A gentle word. The way I always give it ginger is remarkably safe, but if you're on prescription blood thinners or have gallbladder issues, check with your doctor first. Start slow, half a cup, and see how your body responds. I've never had anyone need to stop, but we always listen to the body first. So now we've opened the irrigation lines with hibiscus and cooled the smoldering fire with ginger. The garden is getting water, and the weeds are dying back. But the soil itself has been starved of rich fertilizer for years. The mussels still need the actual building blocks to grow stronger and thicker again. That's where our third tea comes in. And when patients discover what this quiet green powder can do, they look at me like I've just handed them the fountain of youth in a teaspoon. Stay right here with me, because you're about to meet Harold, who thought he'd never carry his own suitcase again, and then learned how to feed his mussels the way nature intended. Come a little closer, because this is the part where most of my patients lean forward in their chairs and whisper, "Dr. Hope, are you sure this is real?" I promise you it is. Let me introduce you to Harold. Harold is 81, a retired Air Force mechanic who lives in Sierra Vista with his wife of 59 years. Last spring, he came to see me carrying a small suitcase, the kind you take on an airplane, because he wanted me to see exactly why he was there. He set it on the floor, bent down to pick it up, and couldn't. His legs shook, his back seized, and he had to use both hands on my desk to pull himself upright again. He looked at me with the saddest eyes I've seen in a long time and said, "Doc, we have a cruise booked for our 60th anniversary next year. If I can't carry my own bag onto the ship, I'm not going." Harold had been told by 2 different doctors that at 81 there was no point in even trying to build muscle anymore. He left those offices believing the trip would be his last big adventure, and that he'd spend it watching his wife carry both suitcases. 4 months later, Harold walked back into my clinic carrying that same suitcase in one hand and a huge grin on his face. He set it down, did a little squat just to show off, picked it up again, and said, "Booked the balcony cabin. Doc, I'm ready." The only thing he added to his morning routine: 1 teaspoon of a bright green powder that tastes a little like spinach had a baby with green tea. That powder is moringa, from the leaves of a tree sometimes called the miracle tree in the villages where it grows. I first learned about it 20 years ago from a patient who had served in the Peace Corps in West Africa. She brought me a bag and said, "Dr. Hope, you have to try this." The grandmothers there stay strong, picking 50-pound baskets of grain well into their 90s. I was skeptical until I started reading the nutrition labels, gram for gram. Moringa has more usable protein than eggs, more calcium than milk, more iron than spinach, and every single one of the 9 essential amino acids your muscles must have to repair and grow. It's one of the very few plants on Earth that is a complete protein all by itself. Now here's why that matters so much for us as Americans. The average breakfast I see in my patients' food journals looks like this coffee, maybe a bagel or a bowl of cereal, sometimes a muffin. Total protein, usually less than 10 or 15 grams. Your muscles need amino acids floating around in your bloodstream all day long to patch the little tears that happen every time you walk to the mailbox or stand up from a chair. If there are no amino acids on duty, your body starts breaking down your own thigh muscles to get them. That's not getting old. That's running out of building materials. When Harold started putting 1 level teaspoon of moringa powder in a mug of warm water every morning with a squeeze of lemon to brighten the flavor, he was suddenly giving his body 30 grams of high-quality protein before 9 o'clock, without having to choke down a big steak and eggs breakfast he didn't want. His muscles finally had lumber on the job site again. The Journal of Strength and Conditioning research took a group of men and women 70 and older, added moringa to their regular routines, and measured what happened to their legs after 12 weeks. The moringa group gained almost 20% more muscle thickness in their thighs, and increased the distance they could walk comfortably by 15%. One lady in the study said, "I didn't know my legs still remembered how to be strong." Here's how easy it is. I keep a small jar of organic moringa powder right next to my coffee maker. In the morning, I warm up about 8 ounces of water, not boiling, just hot. Stir in 1 teaspoon of the powder until it dissolves. It turns the water a pretty soft green, and add half a lemon squeezed in. Sometimes I blend it into my oatmeal or yogurt if I'm having that instead. The taste is earthy, a little nutty, a little like matcha without the bitterness. It gives me steady energy that lasts until lunch. No jitters, no crash. Harold now mixes his moringa into a smoothie with a banana and a scoop of Greek yogurt. His wife calls it Harold's Green Monster and steals sips when he's not looking. One important note: the way I always give it moringa is rich in iron and calcium. If you've ever been told you have hemochromatosis, too much iron, or a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones, please check with your doctor before making it a daily habit. For almost everyone else, it's perfectly safe and wonderfully gentle. So now the garden has water flowing again with hibiscus, the fire is out with ginger, and the soil is finally rich with moringa. The plants are ready to grow. But even the best garden needs a gardener who gets up and moves the dirt around a little every day. The next 3 simple habits take everything the teas are doing and multiply it. The same way, a little sunshine and pruning turn good soil into a bountiful harvest. Stay with me, because what Harold, Margaret, and Evelyn all added next took them from feeling better to feeling strong again. And it's easier than you think. I want you to picture the 3 women I just told you about: Margaret with her ruby red hibiscus, Evelyn cradling her warm ginger mug, and Harold stirring that bright green moringa into his morning coffee. They all did beautifully with the teas alone. Their swelling went down, their mornings stopped hurting, and they finally had building materials showing up for work. But every single one of them hit a plateau after a month or 2. Good, but not great. That's when I sat them down and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the garden is ready. Now we have to get out there and do a little gentle tending." The next 3 habits are what took them from "I feel better" to "I feel strong again." And they are so simple, my 91-year-old sister does them without even thinking. First habit, what I call interval walking. It's the quiet secret behind every successful senior fitness program I've ever seen. From the Mayo Clinic to the VA hospitals. You don't need a gym. You don't need fancy shoes. And you certainly don't need to jog. All you do is walk the way you already walk. But every 3 minutes, you pick up the pace just a tiny bit for 1 minute, whatever a tiny bit means for you today. If you're using a walker, you just move your hands a little quicker. If you're steady on your feet, you walk to the end of the driveway like you're trying to catch the mailman. Then you slow back down to your normal shuffle for 2 minutes. That's it. Margaret started doing this around her community lake. The first week, she could only manage 4 or 5 intervals before she needed to sit on a bench. 6 weeks later, she sent me a video of herself doing 20 intervals without stopping once. A VA study showed this exact pattern increases leg strength 43% more than the same amount of steady, slow walking. 43%. That's the difference between needing the armrests to stand up and popping out of your chair like you did 20 years ago. Second habit, protein timing. This one is so easy it almost feels like cheating. We just decide that every single time we sit down to eat, we're going to get 25 to 30 grams of protein on the plate. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even the evening snack. That morning, moringa tea already gives you a head start with its complete amino acids. So add 2 eggs, or a cup of Greek yogurt, or a scoop of cottage cheese, and you're there before you even finish your coffee. Lunch might be a can of tuna or some leftover chicken on a salad. Dinner is whatever you were already planning. Just make sure there's a palm-sized piece of fish, meat, or a pile of beans. Harold keeps a little container of roasted chickpeas in his truck now. When he and his wife stop for coffee on their drives, he eats a handful instead of the donut. His muscles never run out of bricks again. Third habit: 2-minute standing breaks. Every time you've been sitting for half an hour watching the news, reading the paper, playing cards with friends, stand up for 2 full minutes. You can march in place. You can sway to music. You can water the plants. Just stand. A lovely study out of Stanford followed seniors who did exactly this and found it reduced the pressure on their knees by 29% compared to people who stayed seated. 29% less wear and tear. Plus, it teams up perfectly with the hibiscus tea to keep blood moving through those legs all day long. Evelyn set a little kitchen timer shaped like a tomato. Every time it dings, she stands up, stretches her arms overhead, and says out loud, "Thank you, legs, for carrying me another 30 minutes." Her daughter says the tomato timer has become the family joke, but Evelyn's knees haven't complained in months. When Margaret, Evelyn, and Harold added these 3 gentle habits, something beautiful happened. The teas kept doing their quiet work inside, and the habits gave that work something to build on. Margaret now leads a walking group 3 mornings a week. Evelyn gardens again without paying for it the next day. And Harold. He not only carried his own suitcase onto the cruise ship, he carried his wife's too, just to make her laugh. These 3 habits take maybe 15 extra minutes scattered across your whole day. No gym membership, no special equipment, no soreness the next morning. Just 3 small choices that tell your body, we're still in the game. Now, I want to make this even easier and safer for you, because I've been doing this long enough to know that a few well-chosen supplements can be like giving the garden a little extra boost of sunshine. The next 3 are the ones nearly every geriatric colleague I respect keeps in their own cabinets, and I'm going to tell you exactly why and how we use them. Stay right here with me. I've been practicing long enough to have sat through hundreds of medical conferences where the fanciest professors argue about the newest miracle drug. And then, when the lights come up, those same professors quietly ask me in the hallway, "Hope, what do you actually give your own patients that's safe and really works?" I always give them the same 3 answers, because these aren't flashy or expensive. They're the quiet, steady helpers that make everything else we've talked about tonight work twice as well. First is omega-3 fish oil, the one with EPA and DHA on the label. I started recommending it 25 years ago when the research first showed it calms that low-grade inflammation we talked about earlier. The same inflammation that makes knees creak and calves tighten. Think of it as a soft fire blanket thrown over the smoldering coals ginger has already cooled. My patients notice it most in their hands and shoulders. First, less morning stiffness when they reach for the coffee pot. But the real gift shows up in their legs. They walk farther before tiring, and when they do get a little sore, it fades faster. I tell folks to look for a brand that says triglyceride form and gives at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day. Take it with a meal that has a little fat. Even a teaspoon of peanut butter works, so it absorbs beautifully. Margaret, our hibiscus lady, started omega-3 the same week she began the teas. She told me the combination felt like someone turned down the volume on every ache she'd been carrying for years. Second is vitamin D3 with K2. 40%, almost half of the seniors I test, are walking around with levels so low their muscles don't have the strength they should. Vitamin D is the key that lets calcium get into the muscle cells so they can contract properly. Without enough, your legs feel shaky even when you've done everything else right. Add a little K2, and the calcium goes exactly where it's needed into the bones and muscles instead of drifting off into arteries or kidneys. I have patients who couldn't stand from a low chair without using their arms. And 6 months after bringing their vitamin D up to a healthy range, they pop right up. Most folks do well with 2,000 to 4,000 pounds of D3 plus 100 to 200 micrograms of K2 every day. Get your level checked once a year. It's a simple blood test. Harold, our Moringa gentleman, was shocked to find his level was 18. 3 months after starting D3 plus K2, his balance improved so much he stopped holding the rail going down the 3 steps to his garage. Third is magnesium glycinate at bedtime. If you've ever been woken at 3 in the morning by a Charlie horse that feels like your calf is being squeezed in a vice, raise your hand. I thought so. Magnesium is the mineral that tells muscles when to relax. Most of us don't get nearly enough from food anymore because modern soils are depleted. The glycinate form is gentle on the stomach and actually helps you fall into deeper sleep, the kind where real muscle repair happens overnight. Evelyn started 200 milligrams about an hour before bed. The first night she slept 7 straight hours, something that hadn't happened in years. The leg cramps vanished, and she noticed the next morning she could get out of bed without that familiar groan. Many of my patients end up needing 300 or 400 milligrams, but we always start low and go slow. These 3 supplements aren't magic bullets, but they're the gentle wind at the back of everything. The teas and habits are already doing. I keep all 3 in my own medicine cabinet, and at 86, I still walk 2 miles every morning before I see patients. My colleagues tease me that I'm the worst advertisement for retirement they've ever seen. Now here's the best part when you put the 3 T's, the 3 habits, and these 3 supplements together in the right order each day. Something almost miraculous happens. The changes stop feeling like little improvements and start feeling like the old you is coming home. I want to show you the exact daily schedule my patients print out and tape inside their kitchen cabinet, the one Margaret, Evelyn, and Harold all follow without missing a day. It takes less than 20 extra minutes spread across your whole day, and I promise it will feel easier than you think. Let me walk you through it step by step, just like I do in the office. You're going to love how simple this is. Let me lay it out for you the way I do for every patient on their first visit. The simple daily rhythm that has become second nature for Margaret, Evelyn, Harold, and hundreds more. I call it the Build, Circulate, Repair Day, and it takes less than 20 extra minutes from sunrise to bedtime. Morning is for building. You wake up, stir 1 teaspoon of moringa into warm water with a squeeze of lemon. Sit quietly while it cools a little, and eat a breakfast that actually has protein: 2 eggs, Greek yogurt with berries, a slice of turkey on whole grain toast. While the coffee brews, spend 5 gentle minutes stretching your arms overhead and rolling your ankles. That's it. Your muscles wake up knowing the lumber truck has arrived. Midday is for circulating. Keep a pitcher of iced hibiscus tea in the refrigerator, made the night before, with orange slices. Pour a tall glass around 10 or 11. Then take your 10-minute interval walk, 2 minutes easy. 1 minute a little quicker. Repeat. Every time the television commercial comes on or your phone timer dings at the half-hour mark, stand up for 2 minutes and march in place. Your blood starts singing again. Evening is for repair. About an hour after supper, brew your warm ginger tea with cinnamon and lemon. Sip it slowly while you watch your favorite show. If cramps have ever woken you up, swallow your magnesium glycinate with the last sip. Then take a warm shower and give your calves and thighs a gentle 2-minute massage with a little lotion. My wife uses plain drugstore cocoa butter and says it feels like a hug. Lights out knowing your body is quietly rebuilding while you sleep. That's the whole day. 3 cups of tea, 3 tiny habits, 3 safe supplements if you choose them. Nothing heroic, nothing expensive, just steady, loving care for the legs that have carried you this far. Robert, the engineer I told you about at the very beginning, is 72 now. Last week he signed up for a 3-mile charity walk next spring with his daughter and grandkids. He called me from the computer and said, "Doc, I'm not just going to finish it. I'm going to enjoy every step." If Robert can reclaim his strength at 72, imagine what this gentle plan can do for you. Here's what I want you to do tonight. Pick just one tea, whichever called to you the most, and try it tomorrow morning. Then come back in 2 weeks and tell me in the comments how your legs feel when you first stand up from the couch. I read every single one, and I answer as many as I can myself. If you'd like the exact 7-day starter plan, my patients print out and stick on their refrigerators recipes, shopping list, daily checklist. Just type week plan below, and my assistant will send it to your inbox instantly. No charge. My gift to you. You deserve mornings without groaning, afternoons without swelling, and evenings where your legs still feel like they belong to you. Let's walk this road together, one gentle step at a time. If this touched your heart tonight, give the video a little thumbs up so more folks can find it. Hit subscribe and the bell so we stay in touch, and I'll see you right here in the comments. God bless you, my friend. Here's to strong, steady steps and many more adventures ahead. Dr. Hope.